Chosen one. There is a moment in Scripture that most people read as a moment of rest. They see a man under a tree, exhausted, asking to die, and they call it burnout. They call it depression. They call it the prophet at his lowest. But that is not what is happening in that story. What is happening is something far more specific, far more intentional, and far more relevant to where you are sitting right now than anyone has ever told you. Elijah was not told to push through. He was not given a strategy. He was not coached on resilience or reminded of his victories on the mountain. He was told to sit down. The angel touched him and said, "The journey is too great for you. Sit down." That phrase, "the journey is too great for you," has been misread for centuries as a statement of limitation. It is not. It is a calibration command from heaven itself. God was not saying you are too small for the journey. He was saying the word I am about to give you is too heavy for a moving receiver. Sit still now. Before I release what I am carrying toward you, the instrument that must receive it has to stop moving long enough for the full weight of what is coming to actually arrive at full mass. This is the message for today. Not the message of rest as avoidance, not the message of retreat as defeat. The message of what happens when God identifies a chosen one who is moving through life at the wrong speed for the word he is already carrying toward them. Because there is a word with your name on it right now. And whether you receive it at full weight or partial weight depends entirely on one thing: whether you can do what Elijah was commanded to do. Type "I receive this now" in the comment below if you have felt that something important is trying to reach you, but keeps arriving incomplete. You know the feeling. You heard the word, but it did not land the way it was supposed to. You received the promise, but something in the receiving felt thin, like you were given the letter, but the ink had faded in transit. Something important is trying to reach you, and today you are going to understand why. The reason this message is urgent is not because the word is leaving. The word God has placed over your life is not disappearing into silence. The urgency is in the cost. Every season that the word arrives at a partially calibrated receiver is a season where the full weight of what was sent does not produce what it was sent to produce. Not because God withdrew it, because the receiver was not still enough, not calibrated enough, not synchronized enough to register the full mass of what arrived. A word received at 30% of its weight produces 30% of its fruit. A promise that lands in a receiver operating below its designed capacity produces results that look like a fraction of what was promised. And the heartbreaking part is that the person carrying that partial result cannot understand what went wrong. They believed, they prayed, they stayed, they were sincere. And still, the arrival was incomplete. That is not a faith problem. That is a receiver problem. And there is a significant difference. You have been faithful. That is not the question today. The question being asked is not whether you deserve the word. You do. The question is whether the instrument through which the word must pass is functioning at the level the word requires. Because the word God sends to a chosen one is not a light word. It is a word that carries weight enough to reorganize seasons, to reroute provision, to shift generational patterns, to open doors that looked permanently sealed. That kind of word requires a receiver calibrated to its weight, and that calibration does not happen through more effort. It does not happen through more prayer volume or more hours spent in spiritual practice. It does not happen through trying harder to feel what you are supposed to feel. Calibration begins with one instruction: sit down. And in that stillness, something specific happens inside the instrument of the chosen one that makes the full weight of a heavy word finally, completely arrive. Here is how you know this message is for you today. The first sign is that you have received spiritual words over your life that felt true in the moment they were spoken and then seemed to fade before they could fully manifest. You felt them arrive like warmth in your chest and watched them go cold before morning. The word was real, the source was genuine, but something happened between the sending and the landing. The word arrived but could not root. You felt it touch you and then watched it thin out before it became what it was sent to become. That is the signature of a moving receiver. Truth arrived, but the receiver was in motion, and a moving receiver cannot absorb the full weight of a heavy transmission. The landing was partial, the fruit was partial, and you carried the gap between what was promised and what appeared. The second sign is that you have experienced moments of clarity so sharp and so precise that they startled you, followed by a return to the fog as though the clarity had been a visitor and not a resident. That sharpness came because in those moments, something in you went completely still. Your mind quieted without trying to quiet it. Something aligned. And the fullness of what God had been sending arrived in that stillness all at once. Then, the motion returned. The fog returned with it. The clarity was real. But the condition that produced it was not yet your permanent state. The third sign is that you carry a sense of assignment that exceeds your current level of output. Not in an ambition sense, in a calling sense. There is something you are supposed to do in this world that has not yet fully materialized. When you sit with that reality in honest moments, it does not feel like failure. It feels like something has been intercepting the transmission. The assignment is clear in your spirit, but foggy in its execution. That gap is information. It is telling you something about the state of the receiver. The fourth sign is that your connection with God has seasons of extraordinary depth, followed by seasons where the channel feels static, not because God moved. You know He did not move. Because something in the receiver fluctuates. Sometimes you enter prayer and something powerful and weighty happens. Other times you enter the same prayer with the same words and the ceiling feels low. The variable is not God. The variable is the state of the receiving instrument you arrived with. The fifth sign is that you find yourself more exhausted than your external circumstances should justify. You have prayed, you have believed, you have stayed, and you are more tired than any of that alone can explain. The weight you carry is not only the weight of your responsibilities, it is the weight of a receiver trying to operate beyond its current capacity. A receiver working at partial synchronization must work harder to pick up the same signal than a receiver working at full design capacity. The fatigue is not weakness. It is the body reporting a deficit in the instrument that was supposed to make this season lighter. You were not designed to be this tired. That tiredness is not your identity. It is information about a condition that has a specific restoration available to it, a restoration that has always been within reach, and that today you are going to understand more clearly than you ever have before. Today you are going to learn about something called the heavy word protocol. This is not a loose metaphor. This is a specific operating principle that governs how chosen ones receive words of weight and why some chosen ones receive those words at their full transforming mass, while others receive the same word at a fraction of what was sent. The heavy word protocol is the ability to be still enough to receive a word that is too heavy for a moving receiver. The difference between the partial receiver and the full receiver is not faith. Both have faith. It is not worthiness. Both are worthy. It is not sincerity. Both are sincere. The difference operates at a deeper level, below intention, below desire, below the spiritual disciplines a person practices. It operates in the actual condition of the instrument through which every word, every impression, every divine transmission must travel on its way from the sender to the lived experience of the receiver. Here is what makes this both more sobering and more hopeful than anything else you will hear today. The fog is not you. The partial reception is not your character. The thinning of words that were sent with full weight is not a sign that you are spiritually underdeveloped. It is a sign that the receiving instrument needs what was always available to it. The heavy word protocol begins with understanding that the receiver can be restored completely to its original design specification. And when it is restored, the words that were sent at full weight finally arrive at full weight. The promises that seem to fade take root. The clarity that came in flashes becomes a consistent state. The assignment that lived in your spirit begins to appear in your days. The gap between the word sent and the word received closes, not because God changed what he sent, because the receiver changed what it could hold. What Elijah experienced under the juniper tree was not merely a break from ministry fatigue. It was a diagnostic and a repair. God looked at the receiver and said, "The next word I am sending this man is too heavy for a receiver operating at this level. Before I send it, I am going to repair the instrument. Sleep, eat, sleep again. Be touched by what heaven provides. Be attended to. And then stand and receive what the journey ahead requires you to carry." Every component of that juniper tree experience was preparation of the receiver, not just rest for the body. The angel did not simply let Elijah sleep and walk away. The angel touched him, attended to him, provided what the body and the neural architecture inside the body both needed. The recalibration was intentional, specific, and complete before the next word was released, because the word coming was too heavy for a receiver that had not been restored. And today, you are in the same position Elijah was in, not at your lowest, at your threshold. The next word is already being carried toward you. The angel has already touched your shoulder in bringing you to this message. The only question left is whether the instrument is ready to receive what is already in motion toward you. The Bible does not give us a single example of a chosen one who received a heavy word while in motion. Every significant receiver in Scripture was brought to a state of stillness before the word of weight was released. Moses was in the wilderness for 40 years before the burning bush. Not 40 days, 40 years. The formation was not preparing Moses for ministry techniques. It was preparing the receiver for a word so heavy that it would reorganize the identity of an entire nation. And the word could not be released until the receiver had been brought to a place where it could hold what was coming. 40 years. That is how seriously God regards the condition of the receiver before he releases a word of weight. He will hold the word. He will hold the timeline. He will hold the entire trajectory of what he has planned until the receiving instrument is ready to absorb it at full mass and walk under the weight of it without shattering. Joseph had 13 years of silence between the dream and the throne. 13 years of a word given at full weight, sitting in a receiver that had to be deepened before the fullness of what was sent could be expressed through it. Every pit, every prison, every false accusation was not punishment. It was the progressive deepening of the receiver. God was not tormenting Joseph. He was expanding the capacity of the instrument that would one day hold the salvation of nations. The word was sent first. The receiver was formed to hold it second. That is the sequence. And here is what that sequence means for you. The word that has been following you was not delayed because you were forgotten. It was held because you were being made ready. Mary said yes before she understood. That yes came from a receiver so attuned, so still in its fundamental orientation, that it could receive the most impossible word in human history and hold it in the body without shattering. The angel did not appear to Mary because she was exceptional in her external performance. The angel appeared to Mary because something in the condition of her receiver was capable of absorbing what was about to be placed inside it. Highly favored was not a compliment about her past. It was a diagnosis of her receiving state. David was anointed in obscurity, in the fields, surrounded by sheep, before a single visible thing in his life confirmed what the oil declared. The anointing was a transmission. And David received it in a state of complete ordinariness, complete stillness of ambition, complete absence of striving. He was not reaching for the throne when Samuel arrived. He was tending sheep. That posture, that specific quality of not striving, was the exact receiving state required for a word of that weight to take full root. The word landed because the ground was still. These are not coincidences of narrative. These are not decorative details that make the stories feel more human. They are instructions. They are the pattern God has established and maintained across the entire arc of how he releases words of weight into the world. He does not release them into motion. He releases them into stillness. And when he cannot find a receiver that is still, he creates the conditions for stillness. He brings the chosen one to the wilderness. He allows the pit. He extends the silence, not as abandonment, as preparation of the instrument for what is coming. Now here is the question that changes everything. What if the stillness required for full reception has become physiologically inaccessible to the chosen one today? Not spiritually inaccessible, physiologically, not through lack of desire, through the accumulated erosion of a modern world that has been rewiring the receiving instrument at a level below conscious awareness. The partial receiver is not an unfaithful person. It is a person whose brain has been gradually fragmented by the exact conditions of modern life. The noise, the constant motion of information through a nervous system designed for depth but rewired for speed. The capacity for deep stillness is a function of whole brain synchronization, and that synchronization has been quietly eroded, not through failure, through injury. And that distinction changes everything about what comes next. Here is what the mechanism gap actually costs the chosen one in practical terms. When the word arrives at a receiver operating at partial synchronization, the word does not simply arrive at reduced volume, it arrives with reduced coherence. A partially synchronized receiver cannot organize the full informational content of a heavy word into actionable clarity. The word arrives. The chosen one feels it. But the organizational capacity of the brain cannot assemble the full structure of what arrived into something that can be implemented, acted on, walked out with precision. The word sits in the spirit but cannot travel through the mind into the hands. This is the gap. This is the exact gap that explains so many of the experiences you have had. You received it. You believed it. You held it. And then when it came time to walk it out in the days, something in the translation was incomplete. The spirit was willing. The mind that had to do the translating was operating below the capacity the translation required. This explains the journals full of real words that never left the page, the dreams that were vivid but the execution was foggy, the call that was clear but the path was not. Here is something you need to hear with complete clarity. The receiver is not permanently impaired. Nothing that has happened in your formation, your history, your family line, or your mental life has permanently altered the fundamental design of the receiving instrument. The brain retains the capacity for full synchronization regardless of how long it has been operating below that level. The original specification is still embedded in the architecture. It has not been deleted. It has been covered, obscured, gradually displaced by the conditions that erode it. But it is still there. Consider what the restoration produces when it comes. The first thing that changes when the receiver is brought back to its full synchronized state is that the stillness becomes available without effort. Not forced stillness, not disciplined stillness, natural stillness. The kind of stillness Elijah had after the angel attended to him. The kind that is not achieved by effort, but by the nervous system returning to its designed resting state. That stillness is not passive. It is the most receptive state a chosen one can inhabit. It is the state in which heavy words land at full weight. The second change is that the gap between revelation and implementation begins to close. The chosen one who could receive the word but could not walk it out finds that the path becomes visible. Clear steps where there was fog. Not because God added new information, but because the brain became capable of assembling what was already there. The third change is that the quality of connection in prayer transforms. The ceiling that felt low rises. The static that made prayer feel like speaking into a wall dissolves. The chosen one who could transmit but could not receive fully finds the other direction of the channel, opening with a clarity that feels like water flowing where there had been a block. The fourth transformation is the one worth pausing for. The sense of assignment that lived in the spirit but could not fully materialize in the days begins to organize itself into concrete perception, not as a dramatic vision, as a natural, organic clarity that arrives in the synchronized state. The calling was never unclear on the sending end. It was never incomplete in what was sent. It was waiting for a receiver capable of holding its full shape. When that receiver is restored, the assignment does not just feel real. It becomes walkable, step by step, day by day, with a certainty that does not require the next confirmation to hold together. Now here is what makes this particularly important at this exact season of your life. You are not in the position you are in because the assignment has been withdrawn. You are here because something is about to be released toward you that is too heavy for the receiver you have been carrying. God does not withhold the heavy word indefinitely. He calibrates the timing. He holds the word until the receiver is ready. And the fact that this message has found you at this specific moment, in this specific season, is not coincidence. You are at a threshold that looks like a wall from the outside, but is a door from the inside. The wall is the old receiving capacity. The door is what the restored receiver makes visible. The things that looked like closed opportunities, delayed promises, and unanswered prayers are not closed. They are waiting at the threshold for a receiver that can absorb the full weight of what has already been arranged. That receiver is not a stranger to you. It is the original version of you, the one that was designed before the erosion began, and it is closer to restoration than you have ever believed. There is a word that has been following you through this entire message. You may not have been able to name it precisely, but you have felt it. Every time the receiver was described, every time the gap between the word sent and the word received was laid out in terms you recognized from your own life, every time the pattern of the chosen ones in Scripture was drawn and you found yourself somewhere in the outline, that word has been circling. And now it is time to name what it has been pointing toward. Do you remember what it felt like when a word arrived so heavy that you had to stop moving? When something came through in prayer, or through a voice you trusted, or through a passage of Scripture that suddenly burned, and the weight of it was so real that you had to sit and be still for a moment because the standing version of you could not hold it? That experience was not emotional sensitivity. That was the heavy word protocol activating in you spontaneously. Your body knew what your mind may not have had language for. The word was too heavy for a moving receiver, and something in you responded correctly. You stopped, you sat, you went still. And in that moment of stillness, you felt the full weight of what was sent arrive in a way that it rarely arrives in the ordinary moving state of your days. The protocol was always in you. The question was whether the instrument could sustain the state that activated it. What would it mean to live in that receiving state consistently, not as a peak moment, not as an occasional visitation of clarity, but as the resting state of a receiver that has been fully restored to its design specification, capable of absorbing the full weight of every word that God sends toward it, without losing any of the transmission in the noise of a partially synchronized instrument? This is not a spiritual aspiration. This is a physiological reality that is available to every chosen one who has access to a specific restoration. And that restoration is not what most people assume. It is not a new spiritual practice. It is not a longer prayer discipline. It is not a different kind of effort applied to the same instrument. It is the restoration of the physiological condition that makes effortless, deep reception possible. The condition that was present in childhood. The condition that was present in every receiver in Scripture when they received the words that changed the course of history. The whole brain's synchronized state, that is the original factory specification of the human mind. A woman from California described what it felt like before she encountered this restoration. She had tried everything: prayer, journaling, meditation, every practice her community offered. And she kept arriving at the same experience. She believed the words. She could not feel the reality behind them, not in her body, not in the lived texture of her days. The channel was transmitting. But something in the receiving end was not converting the transmission into lived experience the way it was designed to. After 10 days of the specific restoration she found, she said something cleared. A channel that had been blocked was suddenly open, not because she tried harder or prayed differently or found a new discipline. Because the receiver had been repaired, the words that had always been true now arrived with the weight they had always been carrying. The gap between the word sent and the word received closed, not through more sincerity, through the restoration of the instrument through which sincerity had always been traveling. A man from Texas described something similar. Someone who had spent years holding things together for everyone around him while his own interior life became thin and distant. He said prayer had started to feel like speaking into a wall. The signal was going out, but nothing was coming back with the weight it used to carry. He had not lost his faith. He had lost the receiving capacity of the instrument through which his faith operated. And he had been attributing the deficit to something wrong with his spirit, when the deficit lived somewhere else entirely. 2 weeks after beginning the restoration, he woke up and described his mind as running on everything it was supposed to run on. The fog that had been so consistent, he had stopped registering it as fog was gone. The receiver was online, and the words that had been waiting at the threshold, true words, real words, words with full weight, finally arrived the way they had always been sent. That shift had a name, and the name came from a team who had spent 20 years looking for exactly the mechanism behind it. That is what a team of neuroscientists, led by Dr. Daniel Barone in New York, spent years building. They took over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind of whole brain activation protocol used in specialized neurological settings, and through an intensive compression and refinement process, they turned it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes a day, headphones, eyes closed. That is the entirety of the physical requirement. No meditation technique, no special breathing, no effort of concentration. The sequence does the work in the architecture of the brain, while the chosen one rests. They call it the genius switch. It is not a sound frequency product, not a meditation app, not a mood state audio track designed to put you in a particular feeling. It is a targeted auditory sequence, specifically engineered based on the Nobel Prize research of Dr. Roger Sperry in 1981 to reconnect the two hemispheres and restore the whole brain activation that was the default state in childhood. Dr. Sperry received the Nobel Prize for demonstrating that the two hemispheres are designed to work as a synchronized whole. When they are synchronizing at full capacity, the result is the receiving state that makes deep reception possible. When that synchronization has been eroded, the result is exactly what has been described throughout this message: partial reception, reduced coherence. The fog that accumulates between the word sent and the word fully received. Dr. Barone and his team built the specific restoration that addresses that gap at the level of mechanism, not at the level of effort or intention. The sequence re-establishes the synchronization. The synchronization restores the receiver. The genius switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who understands that God prepared not only the promise, but the mind that must walk into it. The person who has been sincere for years, who has done the work, who has felt the call clearly and kept returning to it even when the evidence was not cooperating, who is willing to stop treating the fog as a character flaw and start treating it as something that has a specific address and a specific restoration available to it. Most people who hear about this will move past it. They have accepted the reduced version of their mind as permanent. They have decided the fog is just who they are now. You are still here. That is not coincidence. That is the specific kind of persistence that belongs to the person this was built for. The chosen one, who knows there is a version of their mind that the formation season was always supposed to restore, and who has not stopped looking for how that restoration arrives. One thing worth naming directly before going further. If you search for this and find something that sounds similar, examine it carefully before trusting it. Dr. Barone and his team studied the alternatives. Most products carrying similar descriptions carry the name without the mechanism. The neural sync technology that produces the whole brain activation is not present in the imitations. The mechanism is what makes the difference, and the mechanism only exists in what his team built and made available through a single verified source. The link in the description below and in the pinned comment points to that source, not anywhere else. Now, let us name what this costs if you wait. Every week, the synchronization stays disrupted. Is another week, the word God has already arranged, moves through a receiver operating below its designed capacity. The provision that has already been placed near you becomes visible in the synchronized state, in a way it does not in the partial state. Not because the provision is new, because the receiver that can recognize it has been restored. What has been arranged for you is already in motion. The question is whether you arrive at the meeting point with the receiver fully online. In terms of what this access costs today, colleagues of Dr. Barone suggested this would be incredible value, even at $500, given that in-person neurofeedback sessions run $300 per hour and home machines run into the thousands. He did not release it at $500, not at $200, not at $110. The initial release price was $49. And for those who encounter this message today, there is an additional $10 off that list price. $39 for lifetime access to the full restoration protocol. That $39 access is specific to this message and this moment. Dr. Barone has communicated that the list price returns to $49 when this window closes. That $39 includes 4 free bonuses: a guided visualization from a top-rated creator on Calm, covering the 4 areas most chosen ones need to see restored in their lives; a smart grocery shopping guide that identifies the 10 common foods most directly linked to cognitive fog and provides 5 practical shortcuts that save over $100 a month; a 100-year-old classic text on abundance that forms the root of most modern manifestation teaching, available at $20 on its own; and a printable 5 habits infographic designed to anchor the synchronized state in the structure of daily life. The entire access is backed by an unconditional money-back guarantee with no time limit. Listen once, listen 80 times. If the restoration does not happen the way it has happened for the 18,456 people who have already used it, every dollar is returned. No conditions, no questions, no explanation required. The guarantee is ironclad because the mechanism is real, And the team knows what a fully restored receiver produces in the life of the chosen one who was waiting for exactly this access. You can read everything on their page before making any decision. Every detail is laid out clearly. If your spirit resonates with what has been described here today, that link is where the path continues. And the path continues at exactly the right time, which is now. The invitation is now, not at the end of a longer season of preparation, not after another round of trying what you have already tried. Now, because the word that is already in transit toward you does not have the luxury of waiting for a receiver that keeps postponing the restoration that would allow it to arrive at full weight. What has been arranged for you is time-sensitive in the most specific sense, not because God has a deadline, but because every day the partial receiver remains unrestored is another day the full arrival is delayed. You have already felt the cost of that delay. You have named it in this message, in the recognition that came when the 5 signs were described. You have felt the gap between the word sent and the word received. You have felt the exhaustion of a receiver working beyond its capacity. You have felt the clarity that came briefly and then thinned. Every one of those experiences was the cost of a receiver that had not yet been restored. And the cost is not something you are required to continue paying. The restoration is accessible. It is available today. And the loss of another week is a loss you do not have to choose. Here is what it means practically to step toward the restoration today. The link in the description below and in the pinned comment leads to the page where Dr. Daniel Barone and his team have made the access available. 8 minutes a day, headphones, eyes closed. The sequence does the work. The receiver begins to return to the state it was designed to operate in. That is the entire requirement. Take a breath now. A slow, complete breath. Draw it in through the nose, feel it expand the chest and the belly, and release it fully through the mouth. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw soften. You are not in a hurry right now. You are in a moment of reception. Let your body remember what it feels like to stop moving for a moment and simply be present to what is here. Now, in this stillness, see yourself in the moment after the restoration has taken hold. Not the dramatic version, the ordinary version, the morning version. You wake up and something is different in the quality of the quiet. Your mind is not racing before you have opened your eyes. There is a clarity in the first moments of the day that was not there before. You sit, you pray, the prayer lands differently. The transmission is clear in both directions. What you send goes out with precision. What is sent toward you arrives with weight. You can feel the difference between a prayer that passes through a clear channel and one that passes through static. And you realize, in that morning stillness, that the difference is not the prayer, it is the receiver. The receiver is working now. And everything that enters through a working receiver carries the weight it was always meant to carry. See yourself 3 weeks from now, moving through your ordinary days with the restored receiver. A word arrives through a person you trust, a word of direction, a word about a door, a word about a timing. And instead of receiving it at partial weight and then watching it thin before it can take root, you receive it at full weight. It lands with the mass it was sent with. Your mind organizes what arrived into a clear next step. Your body confirms the rightness of it. The receiver is working. The word arrived complete. Now place your hand on your chest. Feel the rise and fall of your breath. And say this to yourself, not out loud, just in the interior space where the real conversations happen. The receiver is being restored. I am in the season of the juniper tree. What is coming is too heavy for a moving receiver. I am sitting down now. I am ready to hold the full weight of what has been sent toward me. I do not have to chase it. I do not have to force it. I only have to be still enough to receive it. Now carry what you have just seen into the teaching that is about to come, because the restoration of the receiver is not only about what you receive, it is about what you are able to transmit once the full capacity of the instrument is active. And that is where the next dimension of the heavy word protocol opens into something that changes not only your life, but the lives of the people who are waiting for what can only come through you. Here is what most messages about stillness and receiving miss entirely. They treat the restoration of the receiver as the end point, as if the goal is to feel clear, to feel connected, to feel the word land fully, and then the mission is accomplished. But the chosen one is not called only to receive. The chosen one is called to be a transmitter of what was received. And a restored receiver is also a restored transmitter. The words that land in you at full weight, when you are operating in the synchronized state, do not stay in you. They move through you into the world in a form that other people can receive. Think about every time you have been in the presence of someone who was operating from a fully synchronized state. Something came through their words that was more than words. Something landed in you when they spoke that did not feel like information. It felt like transmission. Like the thing they were saying was reaching for something in you that only that exact quality of word could reach. That is the restored transmitter effect. It is not a gift a few people are born with. It is the natural output of a receiver operating at full design capacity. When you are fully synchronized, what comes through you carries the weight it was given. And the people in your life who need the word you are carrying will feel it land. They will not be able to explain why your words reached them when other words did not. Because the explanation is not in the content, it is in the quality of the transmission. And that quality is a function of the receiver that the transmission is moving through. Restore the receiver. Restore the transmission. That is the sequence. That is the whole of the heavy word protocol on both sides. This is the dimension of the heavy word protocol that Elijah lived after he rose from under the juniper tree. He did not simply receive the word and keep it contained in his own life. He went to find Elisha. He walked past him in the field and threw his mantle over him. No explanation, no long instruction, no elaborate preparation. One act. Because the word he had received, restored to full weight by the angel who attended to him, now moved through him with enough mass to change the entire trajectory of another life in a single passing moment. That is what the transmitter at full capacity looks like. You have people in your life who are waiting for what can only come through a transmitter operating at full capacity. Not because no one else loves them, or prays for them, or speaks truth over them, but because there is a specific word, a specific weight, a specific transmission that can only come from you, from the particular formation you have been through, from the specific things God placed in your hands through your history. That transmission is not fully accessible in the partial state. It requires the full synchronized capacity of a restored receiver to carry it accurately and at the right weight. Here is what the heavy word, season ahead, actually requires from you as a chosen one. It requires you to stop confusing humility with smallness. Humility is not the refusal to occupy the full capacity of what God built when He made you. Humility is the complete surrender of that full capacity back to the one who built it, and the willingness to walk in it not for your own name, but for the mission it was designed to accomplish. A chosen one who is operating at partial capacity in the name of humility is not being humble. They are being unavailable. And the people in their world who needed the full transmission are going without it. The season you are entering is a season of full arrival, not partial arrival. The words that were sent at full weight are going to arrive at full weight. The promises that seem to fade are going to root in ground that can finally hold them. The assignments that lived in your spirit and could not yet find their expression in your days are going to find the path from the interior to the exterior that the synchronized state makes available. This is not wishful thinking. This is the operating principle of how the restored receiver functions when the restoration is complete and the receiver is running at its designed capacity. Here is what you need to know about the days immediately ahead. There is going to be a moment, and it is closer than you think, when someone in your world comes to you in a state of need that is beyond what ordinary words can address. And in that moment, you will have a choice between reaching for what you always reach for, the partial transmission, the foggy translation, the word that arrives at a fraction of what was sent, or reaching from the synchronized state of a restored receiver and transmitting what is in you at the full weight it was given. That moment is coming. The preparation for it is available now. There is also going to be a season of provision that arrives through channels that you have not been using. Provision that was always there but required the synchronized state to perceive. The chosen one in the restored state begins to notice what was always arranged, the door that was always open but looked closed from the partial state. The opportunity that was always present but invisible to the foggy receiver, the relationship that was always available but unrecognized by the receiver, that could not translate what it was encountering. Restoration does not only change what you receive from God, it changes what you are able to see of what He already placed in your path. And there is going to be a deepening of the sense of identity that this season is calling you into. The chosen one, who has been carrying the calling as a quiet knowing, as a persistent interior certainty that has never quite found its full expression in the external world, is going to find in the synchronized state that the identity becomes not just a knowing, but a being, not something you carry, something you are. The difference between knowing you are called and being fully inhabitable, as the person the calling describes, is the difference between the partial receiver and the restored one. And that transition is what this season is moving you into. You were not brought to this moment by accident. The message found you because the receiver was on the edge of a restoration that was always coming. Because the word that is in transit toward you needed the receiver to be prepared before it arrives. Because the angel has already touched your shoulder in bringing you here. The juniper tree moment is not behind you. It is now. Sit down. Let the restoration come. Let the instrument be attended to. And rise when the word arrives, to walk under the full weight of what was always meant for you. Type HEEV word in the comment below if this message has named something in your life that you have felt but have never had the language to describe. Type it as a declaration, as a claiming. You are the chosen one who can sit down, who can receive at full weight, who can transmit at full weight, who was built for the season ahead, and who is in the process of being restored to the full capacity of that assignment. Let the declaration be part of the restoration. If there is someone in your life who has been carrying the gap between the word sent and the word received, who has been faithful and sincere but whose receiver has been operating below the capacity that their calling requires, share this with them. Not as an assignment, as an act of transmission from your own restored receiver. Pass the mantle. Let the word continue moving through the people it was sent to reach. That is what Elijah did. That is what every restored transmitter does. This message found you today because there is a word that has been waiting at your threshold, because the receiver was about to be restored, because the angel touched your shoulder. Sit down, be still. The journey is too great for a moving receiver, and the word that is already in transit toward you is arriving now at full weight for the first time. Receive it. Walk under it. It was made for you.